Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here.
Jacob here, meeting my icon, Catherine Isabel, Jane Lorenzo.
Wait, what did you say?
Jane Lorenzo.
Okay.
Have a good one.
You guys better subscribe and watch my friend on his YouTube channel. He is kicking ass.
The enemies of man, the mutants, came from the outside. It is the end of every living thing, everywhere, and for all time.
Begin the evacuation.
Evacuation?
We are finished here.
Am I to understand that you would abandon the Earth? How many millions do you think you'll leave behind? And do you think that the enemy will stop with this world? They'll follow you. There is still hope!
What hope?
Give me 20 soldiers and a ship.
And what can these 20 do that our armies could not?
Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you another movie review. This time we're going to be talking about Mutant Chronicles, which is a science fiction horror film released in 2008 and starring Thomas Jane, Ron Perlman, John Malkovich, as well as Devon, Aoki, Sean Pertwee, and others.
For a mission.
Yeah, you know, save the world kind of thing.
Many men think they're going to die. Few of us know it.
Any last words? Here we go!
In the 28th century, four rival corporations are in a constant state of war for control of the Earth. During one such battle, an ancient machine is uncovered and reactivated, and it starts churning out undead mutants by the hundreds. While the corporations make plans to abandon the Earth, a strike force led by Major Mitch Hunter, Thomas Jane, and clergyman brother Samuel, Ron Perlman, embark on a mission to destroy the machine before the mutants overrun the planet. So yeah, I actually had ordered the DVD copy a little while ago. Got it in the mail just recently. 2-disc director's cut right there. Also has like a whole documentary about the making of the film on the second disc, by the way. But yeah, I've actually been pretty interested in seeing this movie for some time. Of course, if you guys have seen like any video I've done that involves a Thomas Jane role, you'll know Thomas Jane is one of my personal all-time favorite actors. I say this every time I bring it up, but John Bernthal has knocked it out of the park and done wonders with The Punisher. But I always have a soft spot in my heart for Thomas Jane's. I've liked him pretty much every movie he's done, every little TV role or miniseries role. You know, from things like The Punisher to Hun to The Mist, 61, you know, even 1922 that came out recently. I could go through his whole filmography right now if I wanted. But really, yeah, that's what definitely drew me to it, and the premise, of course. You know, I'm a big sci-fi horror movie nerd and, you know, geek, and I enjoy movies like this, you know. Like I said, I call it a sci-fi horror movie. It's more sci-fi action horror movie, I think. But yeah, it's a pretty stacked cast for the budget it had. It had a budget of about like 25 million, I think. So very little for the kind of movie they're pulling off here. That's something you really gotta go into it knowing. Because it's like, okay, can you blame them for the budget they had, really? You know, it's not like they chose to have a low budget to work with, you know? I'm sure they would have liked, $80, $100 million to use or something, you know? But they didn't, so you gotta look at the effort they actually put into it here. The fact that the actors are willing to, most of them actually give it their all here and give pretty convincing performances all around. And it makes you get into the story, and I found myself, although expecting to like it, to a certain extent, I found myself getting more into it and getting more invested towards the end than I thought I would be. The characters have a certain chemistry to them, and because of Thomas Jane being the leading man, I was buying into the journey and, eager to see how it all play out. And I gotta say, it kind of went above my expectations. I was pretty surprised by this movie and how much I enjoyed it and got into it. Thomas Jane right off the bat, of course, he's very good in this. A little over the top here and there. He gets to deliver some pretty cool one-liners, though, and he really works as sort of like this field leader, sort of like Sergeant Major type character. But at the same time, he also has, sort of more heart and soul than anyone in the movie, I guess, which we'll talk about. I guess we can talk about it now. As they're going through the city trying to get to this machine, they're above ground and they see like this last sort of evacuation ship, with people being taken to Mars, because that's supposedly like a safe haven now from all this and everything. But of course, it's run by these dicks, who aren't letting any more people on, or really any people. And Thomas Jane just, marches out there, with the others, namely, like a French guy or something, who was fighting on the other side of the war at the beginning, tells him not to. But, he, cares about people and stuff like that, or, sees a very wrong situation here. So he asks one of the guys how much he weighs, 275, and he says, 310, boom. Now that's two women and, and a child, a woman and a child or something along those lines, two children and a woman, and he asks the kind of the skinnier, leaner looking guy, how about you? Very little. So then he gets everyone to get on the ship and everything like that. So that's there's some good dialogue exchanges throughout the movie and banter in the film as well. Again, the cast has good chemistry with each other, especially like Sean Pertwee and Thomas Jane. They probably share the most well-acted scene in the movie in terms of serious performance. Ron Perlman is fairly good here too. I just finished watching Sons of Anarchy, so it's funny seeing him as like a monk type character in this with an accent, being kind of religious and have faith, right? In fact, there's a scene in Sons of Anarchy where Ron Perlman's character sort of mocks preaching and stuff like that, so it was kind of funny. Of course, you're not supposed to take the movie like 100% seriously. It is kind of campy B-movie action, and I think they know that. Which is fine. But again, I still kind of got invested into it, and Ron Perlman and Thomas Jane really work well alongside each other from this, to like Thomas Jane's short Punisher film Dirty Laundry that Ron Perlman had a little role in, and they've had their hands together in other projects as well. But yeah, Ron Perlman, he's a good presence. And Sean Pertwee, I already talked about him with Thomas Jane. He's one of the best in the movie as well. And then I also found myself liking Devon Aoki as a lieutenant, as a corporal, Valerie. A lot of the characters are pretty distinguishable from each other, which I think was nice as well. Sort of individualized, and they sort of stick out. So that's good. And the creatures themselves, these mutants, I thought for the most part looked fairly good. It's at least some practical makeup on them. I mean, they're not meant to look completely ridiculous because they're really like dead people or dead soldiers that are kind of stapled back together and injected with various things to, basically be a part of this this infestation, right? So they're not meant to look like completely over the top, but I think they were still fairly intimidating for the way they were and the way they were presented anyway. They felt dangerous throughout the movie. There was a real sense of danger. There are some character deaths, especially like one or two that you might not have expected in the film. And most of them are fairly brutal, and they do happen. They do try to add impact to some of them. Others are done in a more realistic sort of quick way. Just when everything's happening, someone would go down, right? There's a fair amount of blood and violence in it as well. It's also like very grayish, almost like Sin City-like in its coloring and lighting and stuff like that. Not completely. There's a little bit of like beiges here and there and stuff, or like really kind of bright explosions and stuff like that. And also like when there's a big like blood splatter or something like that, it's very noticeable red again, like Sin City, which I was fine with that kind of style. But yeah, sometimes you can see its budget. It's like a case of like the backgrounds and stuff like that. You can tell are like very obviously green screen. Like even that shot of Thomas Jane I had earlier. Thomas Jane looks awesome in that shot, by the way. Just like the look of the background, you can tell that something's a little bit off. But again, you can't really blame them for what they had to work with, and I still think they put effort into this film for what they had. And there are like physical set pieces that the actors are working with sometimes too. You can tell at the same time. So, and again, they have a fairly lengthy documentary on how they made the film, so you can tell still some effort went into it. And I also liked how it ended as well. A mix of realism and hope, and also sort of like, again, realism just sort of fitting. Somewhat grim ending, but I was very happy with it as well. So yeah, this is actually a really nice surprise for me. I liked it even more than I thought I would. The action's all over the place. It's pretty engaging. It doesn't really let up at all. And yeah, so again, it feels tense, and there's a real sense of danger throughout. You don't necessarily know who's going to survive. But yeah, so I know you guys thought about this one if you've seen it. If you haven't, go into it and watch it. Give it a shot, have an open mind, understand what the resources they had, and just see how well it did. So yeah, if I had to rate this movie, I'm still divided. I could honestly rate it anywhere from a B- to an A-. I'm just not sure. Yeah, I of course do wonder how good it would have been if they had a bigger budget to work with, at least for their special effects and stuff like that. But really, you gotta look at how much I enjoyed it despite. So honestly, I could give it closer to like a B+, A- after all. So yeah, let me guys thought about this one. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like, subscribe. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.